Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the portion that we are studying in chapter 5, Karma Sannyasa Yoga of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So 8 and 9, he talked about the perfect human being, right? He's gradually coming down from perfection to where we are to explain the different states of evolution. So a perfected soul, the easiest way to understand it is, we've repeatedly talked about it, is a dreamer becoming a waker. So when you wake up from a dream, you enter a different plane of consciousness. The dream state is not the waking state, right? In the dream state, you could be hale and hearty. In the waking state, when you wake up, you have a terminal disease. So the reality is completely different. So similarly, the reality experienced by a person who's entered the fourth state, the state of Brahman, divinity, enlightenment, is totally different. So he looks upon the erstwhile personality as you would look upon a stranger. That's why he says, I do nothing. It's like when you wake up from a dream, you say, I do nothing. In terms of the dreamer, he's doing whatever. What do I have to do with it? In that sense. So that perfect objectivity is what we have to aspire to. Right now we are completely caught up in this belief that we are this person. And all the sorrow emanates from that erroneous belief, nothing else. It's so simple when you understand it, but so difficult because we are steeped in that belief. So a sannyasi, which is verse 10, who's completed almost the entire spiritual path, he's almost at the verge of enlightenment, even though he's not become the self. His thoughts are on that truth, that I am that self. So even that thought liberates you from all the problems in the world. That's what he says. You're like a lotus leaf in water. One of the most beautiful, powerful, practical, whatever you want to call it, similes used in the scripture. You should be like a lotus leaf in water. Lotus leaf is born, lives, dies in water, but it is untouched by the water. It has that layer, that waterproof layer. So if you have this waterproof layer of Vedanta, your fixation is on the self. Aham Brahmasmi, I am that self. That thought itself liberates you from all the problems in the world. It's a thought. See, a child is screaming because it doesn't want to get vaccinated. And the mother tells the doctor, don't worry, I know what to do. She brings out his favorite candy. The thoughts go there. The doctor gives the shot. And the child says, what happened? Because the This is objectivity. You understand? This is imposed, of course, it's not automatic. But the principle is the same. If your thoughts are on the higher, you cannot be touched by the low. You just cannot. So imagine whole day, your thoughts are on the self. You're in the world, but you're above it. Like Lord Shiva, right? His eyes are half open, half closed. Because he's supposed to be in a state of divine intoxication. Not regular intoxication. Because that's what you guys will start. Even I am in a state of divine intoxication. Yeah. That's what they copy. So it means his thoughts are on the self. So half open, half closed means fully open, you're totally involved. Closed, you're tamasic, you're sleeping. So you're in it, yet out of it. That is perfection. Was that Tamil, right? Tungamal Tungi. Correct? There's a saying in the Tamil language, South Indian language, describing perfection. He's sleeping, but not sleeping. So, where is that? Where are we? So, it's a long, long way away. Even the state of sannyas, forget about enlightenment. So, in 11, he came down to our level. If you are a true yogi, means you are attached, you have your desires, but you are genuinely interested. Then, what do you have to do? Abandoning attachment, they perform actions by the senses, body, mind, intellect, only for self purification. Atma Shuddhaye. Kevalai. Kevala means only, nothing else. So if you want to get anywhere in life, you must make it your mission to get to the self. So whatever takes you there, you do it. Whatever doesn't, you say no. So the problem with us is we don't have that strength, conviction. So you fall. What to do, my friends? What to do, family? What to do? Give me a lecture about how the samsara is so important. And I have to, of course, agree. Because usually I'm meeting them for a meal. I won't get that also. So I have to agree, no. Agree, eat and go home. There's no point. You may say, why are you so mean? I'm not mean. There's just no point because you're caught up in samsara. And you have your reasons. So, abandoning attachment means whatever desires and attachments you believe are not conducive for your spiritual growth, you have to say no. You just have to. Otherwise, you're not going to move an inch. Because whatever effort you put in the spiritual path, you'll negate it with your stupid thoughts of the world. So, where are you going to get in the end? Nowhere. 3 weeks. Wedding. 3 years gone. Whatever effort you put. I'm not joking. This is how powerful the world is. That frequency becomes different. So this is anyway such a small part of you, the spiritual part. If you don't protect it, it will just dissipate before you know it. So at least be a yogi. Forget sannyas and jnana. Of course, one day you should aspire, but at least that determination has to be. So that was this portion, 8 to 12. Only 5 verses, right? But so powerful. I mean, we've not even done the 12th verse, but he's coming to that. He's summarizing it. Yeah, Saurabh.
Hariom Gautamji. So we talk about two things. So one is self-purification, and another part is separating out self from body, mind, intellect. Means you basically negate and assert part. So just try to understand how these two parts can reconcile in a spiritual path. Is that first one thing come first and then later on?
Yes.
Then you
see, assertion and negation is literally in the state of sannyas, where you can directly do it. See, the spiritual path boils down to what? You are asserting, means you are reaffirming, thinking. Assertion, negation is nothing but thoughts, right? Everything comes down to thought. Body is just a piece of flesh which follows your thoughts. Now, body by itself, what is it? So, everything you're doing is the thoughts. Thoughts and desires. So, assertion and negation means your thought is on that truth that I am the self. Negation, I am not this body, mind, intellect. So you see yourself in the mirror first thing in the morning. That thought will come if you are spiritual. I mean, it takes a long time. This is not what I am. I am the self. Now, where do we have thoughts like that? My God, one more grey. I never noticed this before. And one more this. Fully caught up. You believe you are this person, right? So how is it possible to maintain assertion, negation? Unless you have to be in a high level, right? See, this is the disconnect between what the scriptures are saying and what people understand. So they all think is totally impractical. I'm in the world, I'm living every day, you are asserting it. Obviously, it's not meant for you. That's exactly what he's saying. So, self purification you must work for. Let me be a better human being. In other words, let me serve more. Let me sacrifice more. So you're in your work, at the workplace. You can't say, I'm not this person, I am the self. But what you can say is, let me not be selfish. Let me work for the benefit of my company. Whole day you can maintain that thought in whatever you're doing. It's not repeating mechanically, but that attitude, right? But in effect, what are you doing? You are saying no to your selfishness, your body, mind, intellect. You are saying yes to something higher. So that will help you grow. So that's why the whole Gita was built for that. People were not able to live up to the Upanishad level. So Krishna taught the Gita, don't worry. Loka Sangraha. Don't worry about the self. You worry about negating your selfishness. That is karma yoga. That's the gospel of karma, which the whole Gita is about. You get it? Of course, you have to keep gaining the knowledge of the self. I've told you that. Without that, the karma cannot continue. That's another thing you all should understand. Yeah, I've understood. Let me be unselfish. Now, what's the point of studying? It's not going to work. By tomorrow, you'll come back to your square one. It's so strong. So, only the study keeps that attitude going, right? But you have to do that. That is why he says here, not just here, he uses the word Atma Shuddhaye. So he's saying here, yogi. In previous verse, obviously dedicating actions to Brahman. See, he doesn't use the word Brahman here in 11. He says yogi and self-purification. Previous verse, he says Brahman. See how subtly they shift the tone. That's why the Gita is the Gita. Everything is covered. You have to understand how beautifully they've explained the whole thing. You got it?
Yeah, just follow up. So the idea is basically as we do self-purification, the mind become less powerful, and then your able to focus more on real negation and assertion.
More constantly. It's not that you can't practice assertion, negation. What you're doing in your study, you are studying that, right? I am that Brahman. I'm not this matter. What are you studying in the morning? That is what you're studying. So you can relate to it, but not on a constant level, not throughout the day. It's not recommended, it's not possible. You will destroy yourself. So that is what the Gita is saying. Find your swadharma. Find the field of action you like to do, which is your talent. Just do it. Then your mind will be peaceful, but make sure you direct it to a higher purpose. What else you want? Whole day you can live like that. You'll be a king of kings. Literally, trust me. If you live like if you function like that during the day, in the night when you rest, you'll be completely knocked out. Because you're so happy you did what you ought to do during the day. Not who said this, who said that, and that happened, and then this happened. It's all selfishness. Got it?
So Gautamji, you gave us that example of candy and the child. So in this case, for instance, the candy for us is that thought of unselfishness throughout the day.
Candy and the child example is totally different. Nothing to do with this. The candy and the child example is you don't follow the higher because you don't understand the value. And you are selfish because that gives instant pleasure. Right? That's same thing applies even in yogi. You will not perform unselfish action because you don't know what it is. You'll perform selfish action because that gives an instant pleasure, right? Only when you understand why you need to be unselfish, you have to gain the knowledge. Then you'll do. That's why chapter 2 is Jnana Yoga. Sankhya Yoga means Jnana Yoga, knowledge of the self. And chapter 3 is Karma. With the knowledge, you should function. Chapter 1 is Vishada Yoga, yoga of ignorance. It should not be called yoga also. Yoga of sorrow means the description of sorrow. So sorrow, knowledge, action. 4 and 5, renunciation. 6, meditation, enlightenment. 1 to 6 is a beautiful sequence of thought. Got it?
So in cases where we are so caught up, what is that single thought then that can divert us away from whatever we are caught up?
In cases when you are so caught up, what is that single thought? It is not there. That is why you're caught up. The reason you're caught up in something completely obsessed, attached, because whatever higher thought you have is not strong enough to withstand that thought. So that takes over. You can't do anything. You get it? You will be swept away. So the only way is to gradually withdraw and strengthen your intellect through the study, which keeps that thought alive. Isn't it? So if at all there's a thought where you're caught up, you must think in terms of, why am I thinking about what I can get? Let me think of how I can serve. That's what you can do. You're caught up in your work, oh God, people are getting bonus, people are getting promotion. Doesn't matter. How best can I serve this organization? Beyond that, you can't. Got it? Chitra?
Yes, Hariom Gautamji, on the point of being unselfish, and Swadharma, if you found your Swadharma and you're working unselfishly for an organization, could you recap for me how to do that in an environment when there are many selfish people around you?
What is your problem? People are selfish. You do what best you can to serve. Your attitude should be to serve.
How do you not get taken advantage of is the angle.
That is, you have to use your intellect. Everybody keeps asking that. You're so terrified of being taken advantage of. Sometimes be taken advantage of. What is your problem? Big deal. Somebody got a little lazy, you did a little extra work. What's your problem if you're genuinely unselfish? But obviously, beyond a point, you use your intellect. So unselfishness should be with the intellect. Intellect means you say no when necessary. I can introduce you to people who've lost all their money and this thing because they have no capacity to say no. And they've lost everything in life. I am a good person. They should wear a t-shirt. I am a God's good person. And advertise that. So it's not foolish. That is foolishness. So if you are genuinely serving somebody, why would you encourage their laziness? That's not service. You're destroying them, not helping them. So you're there to guide them what to do. And that's it. It's all your attitude. Everybody's attention is more on outside. People are selfish. The world is like that. Politicians are bad. This one is bad. Doctors are terrible. The lawyers are horrible. I am a superb human being. That's what you mean when you say all this. But I am the epitome of how a human should be. You do what you can do. Keep quiet. That's all. So if you equate a sannyasi to a patriot who is all the time thinking of their country, then a yogi would be a ordinary person who all the time is thinking of themselves and their family, but they have a thought about their country. So they have to constantly pick themselves up. No, let me not be selfish. They've not achieved the state of being a patriot. I'm just trying to explain the difference. One is you've achieved patriotism. So everything you do will be for your country. You don't have to be prompted. Ordinary person has to be prompted all the time. Did you make sure you did all your taxes? You're not skimping on this. You're doing your obligation. 12.
Yuktah karma phalam tyaktva shantimapnoti naishtikim ayuktah kamakarena hare sakto nibadhyate.
The yukta, having abandoned the fruit of action, attains eternal peace. The ayukta, the non-united, impelled by desire and attached to fruit, is bound. So ayukta, as we've talked about, bhogi, ayukta, these are all synonyms. Means your attention is only how can I best make use of this world for my selfish aggrandizement and enjoyment, for me and my family. This is everybody's attitude. How do you look at this beautiful universe, this world, where there are so many other human beings, animals, plants, nature? How do you look at it? What can I extract from all this for me and my children? That's all. What a petty small mind. It's all we can sympathize. This is ayukta, impelled by desire. So you have a desire, these are desires, and you're attached to the result means you're constantly thinking about what I can get out of the world in the future. Anxiety for that fruit. So yukta, having abandoned the fruit of action. See, he's not saying having abandoned action. This is where people have misunderstood. I keep repeating it because it's so gross, the misunderstanding. Whole of India till today suffers from this inaction, lethargy because of misunderstanding the Gita. That's all it is. They equated renunciation of fruit of action to renunciation of action. Wrong. In fact, directly he says, I quoted that, right? In chapter 3, it's so important, that verse, because directly he's addressing this issue and still people don't understand. Sakta karmanya avidvamsaha yatha kurvanti bharata. Just as the avidvan means unwise, act attached to action. Kuryan vidvams tatha asaktaha. The wise act in the same way, means with the same intensity. Chikirshu loka sangraham. But they act for the benefit of loka sangraha, benefit of others, of humanity. So the same intensity of action. So people believe, this is the first question I get in the corporate seminars. See, we do occasionally, I waste my time with the corporate world. What to do? Because out of 100 fellows, maybe one fellow will react. If I'm lucky. For that one fellow, I have to go. All this paraphernalia, corporate, and all these top companies I've spoken at. Some of you organized at your companies also. And first question, you are telling us to be selfless, unselfish. Won't we lose our what? Drive. Motivation. I said, you mean the patriots who got freedom for their country, they lost their drive? They have far more drive than you. You don't have a drive. Your only drive is you and your family. The higher your goal, the greater the drive. The people who discovered all these life-saving drugs and gave the patents away, like Fleming gave away the patent for penicillin. Obviously, he was selfless. Imagine the first antibiotic you give away, the patent. They don't have any fellow in the world like that today. You understand? AI, BI, CI. Yeah. What is that compared to the fellow who discovered the first drug? Means there's no antibiotic in the world. You can charge anything. Till today, his descendants would have been the richest people in the world. Literally, if he had kept that to himself. He didn't have a drive. Motive was to help, to serve. Now, I'm not saying give up the patent. In today's world, the fellow who takes it will abuse it. You might as well keep it and do good with that. We're not talking about that. Like when my guru wrote Vedanta treatise, right? The book we study on today's what? Saturdays. You know that, Christina? So first he didn't want to have a copyright. So he said, this is not my knowledge. I only compiled the knowledge from thousands of years ago. Why should there be he actually didn't want. So let anybody use it. Then his well-wishers advised him, you are living in Himalayas or what? Actually, therefore, some of his well-wishers had to come and shake him up. No jokes. Because you're in such a frequency those days, writing that book, which world you're going to talk about? Just written illusion, Maya, next thing, copyright, application. Doesn't go together, actually. But they said, what will happen is, some fellow will claim it as his book. You will have to buy it from him to use your own book. This is the world. And that's how he got that. And it actually happened. Do you all know? One fellow who goes by his name, he took the whole book, put a different cover, and he's saying it's my book. And the case went to the Indian Supreme Court, which Swamiji won. We had to go to the Supreme Court. You know how much it costs for a lawyer to one hearing in the Supreme Court? I mean, so these are the things you got to deal with. Now, why did we go there? Where have we gone from verse 12 to Supreme Court? You've not told me. Huh? Selfish. So, you must. So, what I'm trying to say is, you think they didn't act selflessly. When you act selflessly, you don't lose your drive. The drive becomes 10 times more. Because what impedes your drive is selfishness. What will happen to me? When you don't have anything impeding your thought force, you will blast off. He's like a tennis player starts playing badly because his selfishness impedes him. Will I win? Will I win? What if I lose? The minute that thought of winning or losing goes, he plays beautifully. There's no impediment. So don't have all these misconceptions. Simply set a higher purpose in life and go all out. You'll be in heavens. You have no idea. So the yukta, having abandoned the fruit of action, attains eternal peace. Eternal peace, relative and absolute. To the extent you're spiritual, forget about enlightenment. Your peace is permanent. So if you're 40% spiritually evolved, 40% that peace will always be with you. That cannot go. 60% you'll still be disturbed because you have selfish desires. So ultimately, you will gain the ultimate enlightenment. You get it? But the ayukta, they are bound. So bound means not only do you have desires now which agitate, disturb your mind, you create more desires. It's insatiable. Ask any billionaire. When you started off, you say, I started off in my mother's apartment and this happened. They give big stories, right? That time, if somebody said you'll have $1 billion, you would have given anything for that. Now, what is it? Billion. Poverty for them. Literally. 10 billion. Ask a fellow. So it's like that. That same hunger multiplies. Why don't you ask yourself, forget about billionaires, whatever you are. 20 years back, if somebody told you this is where you'll be, most likely you would have grabbed it. Oh, that is it. I would have this. What is it now? Bound. Whatever you get, you want more. If that is not imprisonment and bondage, I don't know what is. What a horrible life. Like Khalil Gibran says, it is not the dread of thirst when your well is full, a thirst that is unquenchable. Your well is full and you're still afraid of being thirsty. Means that thirst is never going to go. Unquenchable. It's not possible. It cannot go. Desire for more and more and more. So you'll always be thirsty, no matter how many wells you dig. Vikram.
Gautamji, there is a question from Raj as a follow-up to a previous question from today. Sometimes unselfishness in an organization may be perceived as passive. Is this detrimental to the progress in the work environment?
You are equating unselfishness to passivity. I just explained to you, passivity is when you are emotional. You just go by good feelings, not understanding the consequences. That, of course, is detrimental. So, your good feelings should be backed by your intellect to understand the consequences. See, the Yudhishthira was a Dharma Raja in the Mahabharata. Very, very highly principled, unselfish person. What happened? He suffered and suffered because he didn't use his intellect. So everybody took advantage and destroyed him until he surrendered to Krishna, which means a higher intellect. Then only he was okay. So when his decisions were moved to the intellectual level, which symbolized by surrender to Krishna, then he was okay. He was able to navigate the war and emerge victorious. So yes, if passivity means lack of intellect. So if your feelings are good and you're passive, you don't use your intellect, anybody with an intellect who's selfish will easily take advantage of you. So whose fault is that? It's your fault, not theirs. They are just doing what they are supposed to do. So his cousin Duryodhana, he knew he was an aggressively bad fellow. He knew this guy will never say no to his to the elders. So he didn't ask him for a game of dice. He made sure his father asked him. Who's blind by attachment. Dhritarashtra symbolizes blindness. Blind, he's always blind. Means totally mind-led, completely blind. Life was a disaster beginning to end. Everything was emotional. And he was married to Gandhari, who had eyes but chose not to use them. Who blinded herself willingly. Which means you have an intellect to see, but if you are so blind with emotion, even that intellect loses its capacity. It follows the blind mind. Yeah. Chitra, you got something?
Yes, the corporate question that you were asked, Gautamji, what about motivation? To me, the corporate, most people's for business, it's a for-profit organization, and sadly, their motivation is wealth accumulation, right? So when you say selfishness impedes motivation, how does that impede it? Because the billionaires
you cannot achieve wealth. You cannot achieve wealth if you're impede in the sense, of course you can, but you're not functioning to your capacity. To the extent you're selfish, your capacity is impeded. Now you're still earning wealth because others are more impeded. That's all. You think any tennis player who wins is selfless? It's just at that time their desire to win is slightly more under control than the others. So you see the good players in the crucial point, they'll play normal. What is the difference between them and the average players? Every time you notice, any of you follow any sport, who are the average players? Any time they are in a winning position, they will lose because the mind gets agitated. It's not that these guys are playing better; they are playing the same game. It's all mental. What do you think? Sadly, their motive is profit. What is your problem? Why are you sad? Their motive is business means profit. You're earning money. Point is, what are you doing with the money? Money can be used for your own aggrandizement. It can be used as a means to serve others. So nothing wrong with earning money. How you're using it. You should earn more, but Difference is you must use that to serve the world beyond what you need. Keep liberally what you need. Beyond that, what are you keeping for? A disgrace. Literally a disgrace. To keep beyond your liberal requirements. I'm not saying scrounge. Be liberal what you think you need. Beyond that, what are you keeping for? That's the disgusting thing.
So in this verse 12, the yukta is described as eternally happy, but the one who is not is described as bound. Is there a reason why they use the difference in terms?
One is used happy, one is used bound. Because bound gives tells you not only are you unhappy now, you're setting yourself up for more unhappiness. See, that good question. That is the difference they're trying to convey. It's not just a person who's spiritual is peaceful, a person who's selfish is not peaceful. Yes, that is there. But what about the future consequence? Here you will become more peaceful. There you will become more unhappy, which you don't understand now. Because the mind, the thoughts of the mind go in geometric progression. They don't go in arithmetic progression. It's not 2 plus 2. It's 2 times 2. So the mind generates thoughts so powerfully. After a while, it is not simple interest, it's compound interest. You understand? Mind is compounded. It's a compound of thoughts, not a progression.
Why is it so hard to understand that you are bound?
Why is it so hard to understand? Because, like we discussed, the kid and the candy, you can't understand the future and what's going to happen. It's too short-sighted. You only see the instant result from this world. So it totally deludes us. Like that child, when once it sees the candy, it can't see anything beyond that. There's $10,000 in the other hand. There's a piece of candy in one hand. You go to a child, right? That's the example. Once it sees the candy, what happens? Anything in the world, convince it to take the money, it can't. That's the problem. Why do we not understand? You're so blind. Each one of us is blinded by what?
Attachments and desire.
Attachment, desire, very general thing to say. You're right. Blinded by what? What are we blinded by? Ignorance. Anything you can answer in ignorance. Why is this world there? Ignorance. Why am I doing this? Ignorance. Everything ignorance.
The
Huh?
next sense enjoyment.
If I just get that, I'll be happy. You can't believe how powerful that is. See, when you were in middle school and you saw the high school people going, enjoying themselves in the after class, and and you are like, you have to go back in this thing and disciplined and all, and they were free and fooling around and all the kinds of things. What was your thought then? Once I just get to high school, oh, ask a 7th grader, what is their ambition? Oh, high school. All free, all big guys. They can't see anything beyond that. Now, can you tell that fellow, we go to high school, then what will happen? You'll think of college. He'll say he's a mad fellow. This is some idiot. He can't understand. High school doesn't understand the minute you get there. Oh, college. Wow. What a life. And we are all obsessed, right? Go to the right college. The minute you get there, what is it? That job. Now AI has come. Will I get a job? Eh, job. Minute you get a job, then I need someone. Mass obsession. Years and years going on. How many came? How many went? Now, hopefully, last one. Everything is signed and sealed. Now, let's see if it delivered. Signed and sealed, but delivery is the problem. The parents, every time they feel this is the one, son disappoints them. So, we're hoping now this is the last. So, it's that next thing. If I get that, everything will be okay. It's just round the corner. Once I sit at home, take care, peace, all the peace was there is gone. In pieces the mind. So everybody. So you can't see beyond that. Where you can see? And when has it happened? That also you can't understand. So stupid. You can't even go back to your life and see when it has ever happened that when I thought I'll get the next thing, it will be okay, it didn't become okay. That much intellect is not there. To understand through your own experience, it has never happened. How is it going to happen now? You can't understand. Even at 80, a fellow will not understand. My grandson is applying to this college. Let him just get there. Let me try and see which contacts I have to get him. Go on. Impossible. Anjali,
Gautamji, what if you do realize that you are bound by a certain attachment and feel trapped but cannot change the thought pattern? It keeps coming back.
so the problem is that thought pattern is very deep, and you have created it through your unintelligent indulgence in those thoughts, right? So it's become such a deep and strong part of you that you can't just dismiss it. So you have to carefully deal with it, which is initially withdraw from the environments that trigger it and strengthen your intellect through the study of Vedanta. There's no other way. Just so, at least temporarily, to protect yourself, you must stay away from the environment that keeps triggering it. I'm obsessed with my children. Throw away your phone for a little while. Everything will become okay. And throw away, I'm saying keep it aside. You don't have to every time respond, every time you feel talk, and keep on going into the wrong environment. So these are the things. You giving a very simple thing. You have a problem with alcohol, don't keep it in your house. Don't go to a bar. That's it. If you are genuinely able to do that and study, you will strengthen yourself. But first, there should be acceptance. This is my self-created monster. The mind is like Frankenstein. You all heard of Frankenstein, right? Is a robot. Is that in that book? So the scientist creates a robot, and when he's able to put life in him. And what does that robot first do once it gets life? Kills the scientist. That's your mind. You created it and it's killing you. I mean, how absurd is it? If you really look at it philosophically. What is killing us? Our own mind. Well, who created that mind? You. Atma Hana, says the Upanishads. It's like spiritual suicide. You committed it. 13.
Sarva karmani manasa sanyasyaste sukham vashi navadvare pure dehi naiva kurvanna karayan.
Mentally renouncing all actions and self-controlled, the embodied rests happily in the city of 9 gates, neither even acting nor causing to act. Topic 3 of this chapter 13 to 19, the state of Supreme Being. Now again, this is a person who's enlightened, so it doesn't apply to us, but he's telling you what is the goal. So these verses they would not have used today. If the same teacher was teaching today, they would not have said neither acting nor causing to act, because it's misinterpreted as inaction is perfection. They're talking very specifically, which people understood those days, what they were trying to say. There's no selfish action. You understand? You don't need anything for yourself. You don't act for yourself. That's what they mean. So the city of 9 gates refers to the body. So a lot of the Puranas have these stories. Navadvare Pure, the city of 9 gates. You'll see in Puranas stories about these cities. They all mean you, the human being. And the king inside the city is always afraid because there's constant invasions going on, which means the external world is constantly chipping away at your defenses. And ultimately, there will be disease, old age, and you will be overcome by the elements. They will win. That's what they're trying to say in the form of a story. So that same simile he's using here for perfection. So instead of that anxiety and worry, once you reach perfection, even though you still are bound to this body, till physical death, you rest happily. So an enlightened person, so this comes from the Upanishad actually, this metaphor of the city with 9 gates. It's used very often in the Puranas also and after that. But originally it's from the Upanishads. So when you are fully happy within, there is automatic self-control, in the sense your mind is not rushing to the world to find enjoyment, because enjoyment is within. This is the state of self-control. We have to practice self-control. This is automatic self-control. The mind itself doesn't go. What a state. See, we don't understand the difference, so you don't understand the grandeur. Imagine you're so happy within, the mind itself doesn't need to go anywhere. It stays within. Now, since we are unhappy, the mind is constantly going to seek happiness. It's totally different. So you lose control. And when you are dependent, you have to act to fulfill the desires. And constantly you want others to act in a way that satisfies you. These are the two things we are doing all the time. Either we are acting so our desires can be fulfilled, or we are chewing the brains of those who have to listen to us, like our children. You're causing them to act all the time. Why aren't you studying? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? How will you get into college? Causing others to act all the time, trying to get others to do what you want. So all those things are not there. Person is fully satisfied within. So how do they act? Where they are needed. An enlightened soul is not that they don't act. They act where they know they can make an impact. In other words, where people want knowledge, they're always there to give that knowledge. So you see Krishna's life. He knew that beyond his childhood, people in that little village, Gokul, they're not going to be able to understand the knowledge and the effect he can have on the world. Immediately left. Went to Mathura. Mathura, he destroyed the Kamsa Chanura. The whole life was that. Destroying the demon means with knowledge you destroy desires. From there he left. Throughout his life, he only went where he could make an impact, where people needed him. That's what he says. But he doesn't act, in the sense he doesn't need to act or cause others to act. So practically we must understand, the moment you have friction with others because you want them to do what you want, you don't understand that they are their own person. If you're selfless, you give others their space in life. You don't impose your desires on them. I'm ending with a practical tip, because the minute this class ends, you start fighting with you know who. So before you start that today, at least understand, why am I expecting that person to behave according to my desires? Leave them alone. Neither acting nor causing to act. Look at the construction. Na eva kurvan. Sanskrit is even more better. English doesn't do just. Na karayan. Na kurvan, na karayan. Not causing you to act, not acting. Means they don't need anything for themselves. So fascinating portion. 13 to 19 is like a scripture in itself. You know, these small nuggets are there. What is the state of Supreme Being? Right? So we will, any questions, send them in for Wednesday. Otherwise, we'll meet over the weekend as usual. Hari Om.